A very good afternoon to all our viewers and welcome to this edition of NMH1, our show here at Namibia Media Holdings, where we bring you the latest news across the country. My name is Tewan Jabela. Now, as is tradition on the show, let's quickly look at the front pages of today's daily newspapers in our country. Starting, of course, with Republican, one of our papers here at Namibia Media Holdings, reporting about the death of a Zimbabwean national, a vendor who was assaulted apparently by 5 men in Otjiwarongo. We will bring you a full detail of the latest news in that regard later on, of course. And then Allgemeine Zeitung also reporting about the same incident of the vendor who was assaulted, but of course taking the angle of the fact that 2 of the suspects had fled out of Otjiwarongo and they were arrested in Rooidag, an area in Otjiwarongo region. We bring you also from Namibian Sun the front page story about the fact that the Namibia, or the National Forensic Science Institute for DNA, the Namibia Forensic Science Institute being underfunded heavily, so much that it cannot produce on time DNA results, especially those needed for court purposes. We just had a story last week of a man who confessed to killing his ex-lover in Rundu, and because of the delayed results, lab results, he was then released from custody, police having to go for another warrant of arrest for him to be arrested and returned into custody while they are waiting for the results of that test. Also on the front page of Namibian Sun, still also a story of the fish rot scandal, where the CEO of Fishco, Mike Ngipunya, was appealing for bail last week, and a lot of details emerged during that appearance. Let's look at New Era, which is also a daily newspaper, reporting, of course, also on the case of the Zimbabwean vendor. It is a story that made a lot of headlines over the weekend, and New Era also reporting on it there. We go to the Namibian, also reporting about government's intention to auction off fishing quotas that were previously allocated to Fishco. Those details can be found in all those dailies. We move inside the inside pages of these daily newspapers, of course, starting with New Era, also reporting about the fish rot saga, especially the claims that about $130 million were paid in bribes, resulting, of course, in the arrest of a lot of suspects, including 2 ministers, Saki Shangala and Bernard Esau. In the inside page of Namibian Sun, also reporting about President Hage Geingob saying that he has no issue with Damara King Justus Harweb, as suggested by many. We heard during the State of the Nation address last week allegations by some members of the opposition that the president was distancing himself from Damara events such as cultural festivals, going as far as suggesting that the president has personal vendettas with Damara King Justus Harweb. And Namibian Sun reports this morning that the president is denying those claims. Of course, lastly, also in the inside pages, Republican talking about 13 street kids in Khobabes that are being rehabilitated, so that especially it's winter time, the children, street kids in particular, need that kind of protection from society. So Khobabes has moved a step ahead of others by tracing 13 of those kids and putting them in quarantine. No, not in quarantine, but in rehabilitation, sorry. We'll be back. Now Today, the Minister of Health, Dr. Kalumbi Shangula, reported 2 more cases of COVID-19 infections involving, of course, 2 women, one aged 27 and another one aged 50 years old. They were both traveling from India, one of them coming through South Africa, and they were quarantined, as is mandatory here in Namibia at the moment, that when you come in the country, you will be quarantined, and during quarantine, a lot of tests take place, and it was during those tests that they found that 2 more Namibians are infected with COVID-19, and this brings the total of the country's infections to 31 in total. Dr. Kalumbi Shangula spoke this morning, and this is a short video of what he had to say.
The sedation continues to be stopped, and the patient is fully awake. He is still on ventilator now, but is showing positive respiratory dynamics. Today I announce 2 new cases. Case number 30 is a 7-year-old female Namibian student who traveled from India by air via Ola International Airport in South Africa on the 29th, on the 24th, and May 2020. She departed from South Africa on the 25th of May by bus, whereby she traveled with other 9 passengers who were also returning Namibians, also from India. And they were dropped off at Lake border post in South Africa. On the same day, as arranged, they were collected in 2 minibuses by the Taras Health District team and entered Namibia through Ireland's Lake border post.
There was Dr. Kalumbi Shangula, the Health Minister of Namibia, announcing 2 more cases of COVID-19 infections this morning, and that was Esther Kamati, our colleague, who brought us that insert. Now, as we said earlier in the show, every newspaper this morning reported widely about the alleged assault of a Zimbabwean vendor in Otjiwarongo, who then died later, succumbing to his injuries. And this morning, our colleague Ogeto Greg went to Otjiwarongo to cover the first appearance of the 5 suspects who are involved or alleged to have been involved in the assault of this vendor. And he put together for us this clip.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ogeto Greg and welcome to NMH at 1. I am here in Otjiwarongo in front of the Magistrates Court. This morning, in front of Magistrate Karel Muyegu, the case of murder of Mr. Laisenani Zhao, Zimbabwean national, was heard. The suspects, 5 of them, made their first appearance. It's Mr. Janre Jansen van Vuren, Mr. Jonathan Patrick Myberg, Roberto Kachinumunene, Kefas Kautau Du Kau, and Hendrik Simubureni, who appeared for the first time today. The case has been postponed for further investigation until the 17th of August, and at this point bail has been denied to all of the 5 accused. However, according to the state prosecutor, there is some expectation that especially accused number 1 and 2, in the order that I read the names out, who opted for private legal representation, will be bringing formal bail applications in the days to come. But the entire nation is watching these events unfold because Namibian society was shocked by this brutal incident in which a street vendor lost his life. We will keep you up to date. Stay with us. Thank you very much.
There was Ogeto Greg reporting from Otjiwarongo this morning about that unfortunate incident where a Zimbabwean vendor was allegedly assaulted succumbing to his injuries later the same day. We spoke also earlier about President Hage Geingob denying allegations that there's conflict between himself and the Damara King, Justus Harweb. This is a clip from a SWAPO Central Committee meeting that took place over the weekend, at which the president went on record saying there's no such a thing between him and the Damara King.
Comrades, this disease, to start with, this disease is not a joke. And we took drastic actions that the world is noting. Therefore, I'm very happy that all of you, despite that, traveled. And because of that, you can see it's abnormal. Some comrades are not here inside. I am seeing you too. So I greet you too also. You are part and parcel of us. But this is how abnormal the situation is. However, we came, we are committed members of the party, so that we can deliberate on our program. We cannot be stopped by the disease, as we are not stopped by the other enemies. So I'd like to welcome all of you, comrades, to deliberate on the issues that we have and go back peacefully. Yesterday I was drawn into issues of Kaup, Harweb. He and I come a long way. And I'm in touch with him always. So I told him about what happened, shouldn't have happened, because he and I, as some people were trying to come between me and Comrade Sam Yoma, I said, you cannot also come between me and Harweb. We come a long way. So in touch, we explained the situation. But as people like to distort things, we must stay composed. I'm certain that if we work in unison, putting the best of our minds together.
There was President Hage Geingob speaking at the SWAPO Central Committee meeting over the weekend, denying allegations that he has friction with the Damara King, Justus Harweb. That insert was from our colleague Ohonet Lache, who attended that meeting. Finally, in this segment, we bring you a clip of a young man called Caleb, showing us how he does his exercises during this time, especially with school not opening, some grades not opening. He keeps himself busy with exercises, and he wanted to share this with you.
Hello, Marcus. Alright, because now we're learning how to do exercising. We're only going to do 3. And if you're at home and you have maths and you write and stuff, then you can move them.
Wacht tot Caleb klaar is, dan vat jy jou video. Okay, great. How long are we doing that for?
Just
For a minute.
yes, just for a minute.
Okay, next.
Next exercise is we're going to have the weights, pick them up by a hook and lift them down.
And we must squeeze our bum.
No,
Oh,
bum right.
okay.
Squeeze it and lift the weights.
Sure. How many times must we do that?
2 minutes.
Sure. Okay. Great.
Okay. Now, for the exercise, we're doing these. If you don't have them, you can do another one.
Okay.
I'm going to lift. I'm going to try my legs. I'm going to see rise. Like a dinosaur, and a giant goes like boosh, 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 and boosh, boosh.
Okay.
If you're going to fall, just pause the video and do it again.
Okay. That's all 3. Well done.
If you don't have exercise stuff, just make stuff and do your own exercise.
Great job, Caleb. High five.
Now, this brings us to the end of the show today, and of course, as usual, we like leaving you with the weather. Maybe you're traveling somewhere and you want to see how your destination looks like. Here's the weather report.